let praise arise. You break down every wall, we'll watch the giants fall, for fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side, forever lifted high, with all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Let faith be the song that overcomes the raging sea. Let faith be the song that calms the storm inside of me. Let it rise. Let faith arise. You break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. For fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side, forever lifted high, with all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. This is what living looks like. This is what freedom feels like. This is what heaven sounds like. We praise you, we praise you. We'll see you break down every wall. We'll watch the giants fall. For fear cannot survive when we praise you. The God of breakthroughs on our side, forever lifted high, with all creation cry, God, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Oh, we praise you. Well, you all sound lovely tonight. I just love that song. And I especially love the next song we're doing. Those of you who went to summer camp, we did this song at camp, and it just always brings me back there, and it just reminds me of it. And if you weren't at summer camp, don't worry, you'll catch on. It's pretty easy. So would you just stay in that place of worship and really just pour into this song? I could just sit and wait for all your goodness, hope to feel your presence. I could just stay, I could just stay right where I am and hope to feel you, hope to feel something again. I could hold on, I could hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. I could be safe, oh, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home, never let these walls down. But you have called me higher, Will you lead me, Lord? I could hold on, I could hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. I could be safe, oh, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home, never let these walls down. But you have got me higher, you have got me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You have got me higher, you have got me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. Where you lead me. I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. Sing that again with me. I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. Sing that to him, that is the truth. I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy. I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy light the path before me, 'cause you have got me higher, you have got me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. Oh, 'cause you have got me higher, you have got me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. Oh, 'cause you have got me higher, you have got me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. Oh, 'cause you have got me higher, you have got me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You lead me. Will you lead me, Lord? Will you lead me?
Dear Lord, I thank you that we all got to gather here today, and I just pray that we continue worshiping you. Even though we're done singing, I pray that we're not done praising. I pray that we're able to praise you throughout the night. I also pray for Tony and that you'll give him the words, that they're not coming from just his mouth, but from yours. And I pray that our hearts will receive his message tonight. In your name, amen.
May not be on. Maybe. Oh, yay, we're on. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this wonderful Wednesday night. How are y'all doing? All right, so for our first announcement, we have Friendsgiving, which is next week. Everyone, please take out these cards that you have and start filling them out. So write your name at the top so we can read it, please. Just give you a few seconds to do that. And if you are planning on coming next week, I invite you to circle the one that applies to you. If you're a student or a leader, and your grade if you are a student. And circle which you could bring, possibly, maybe, next week. We have dessert, a hot dish for a side, chips, drinks, vegetables, fruit, bread, or other. So Yeah. So next week for Friendsgiving, we are going to be serving gourmet soups. So yummy ones, not just the plain boring ones. But so I invite you all to come to that next week. Ben?
All right. So next up, we have Pizza Ranch. Who loves pizza? Yeah. Pizza is amazing, right? Yeah. So this Monday and next Monday, I want to see all y'alls at Pizza Ranch from 5 to 8. People from Riverside are going to be serving there to raise some money for life. But we want to see all y'all's there. And yeah, it'll be great. I mean, you can't really go wrong with pizza, can you? No. Yeah, exactly. It's pizza.
Jack.
And they have chicken. So, I want to see all y'all's there.
If you filled out your card, and hopefully everybody did, if you would just push those to the middle, like this way, and then you guys this way, we would love to know if you're going to be here next week so we have enough food for you, because we're going to have a massive thing up front. We're going to come in here first at the beginning of the night. We're going to save the cafe for a big, massive meal we're going to eat. So don't eat dinner next week. Make sure you save it for Friendsgiving if you're coming to Friendsgiving. And then we're just going to have a great night. It's going to be awesome. So we'd love to celebrate some Friends stuff with you guys. So if you filled your card out, please pass it on into the middle right now. And then if you're on these rows, would you collect them and push them to the back sound booth? And you guys here, collect them, push them to the back sound booth as well. And then you guys in the 6th and 7th grade room, when you're done filling out your cards, you come on in here with us. We'd love to have you in here with us. So take 30 seconds more to fill those cards out. Let us know. And then bring them back to the sound booth in a big pile if you've got them. Wonderful. By the way, who here Sunday saw some of our friends get baptized? That was so cool. A bunch of you took that next step of baptism. That was so awesome. Leaders, I know, were just oozing with smiles. It was a great, great time. So glad you guys got to do that. If you missed it, it's online. You totally want to see it, especially at the end. We got like a bunch of people here, a bunch of people you see on Sundays as well. That was really cool. And then, can you grab that from me, Ben? I'm gonna spill the beans on something kind of cool. So we are going on this amazing trip. If you're in 8th grade through 12th grade, we're going on this amazing trip called Life next summer. We've done the signups, we had the deadlines, but I will tell you right now, we had 2 people who now can't go, one guy, one girl. And if you've been hearing about Life and you're like, I think I should maybe think about going, come talk to me at the end of the night. Literally, don't forget. It's on you to remember. But come talk to me at the end of the night if you're remotely interested in going on this trip. I will tell you all that I can and try to help you take next steps with it. But we have a spot for one guy student and one gal student. And so come see me if that's you. All right. Now, I know y'all just got situated, but we're going to play a game, and then we're going to get into our message. And tonight our message, if you don't know this, I'm going to share a few things up front that I think will help us for the rest of what we're going to do. But then we're going to do some Q&A, and I think it's actually going to be really cool. For that to happen, you need to be sitting with your small group tonight. So in a moment, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and everybody's going to get up and go move to where your small group is. But before that happens, don't do it yet. I just want our leaders to stand up who have the signs so you can see where you're going. So leaders, 8th grade guys are right there. 10th grade guys right there. I can't see the other ones, but look around. Okay, make sure you see where you are about to go. See, now don't do it yet. Sit down. Because there's going to be like 2 people in this room who are going to choose not to move. Don't be those people. Go to your groups. Go do it now. Ready, go. Leaders, make sure everybody's moving around, getting to where they need to go. Make sure you grab your papers, your Bibles, any of that stuff. Really good stuff. Okay, leaders, keep holding the signs up. If you are not with your group, go sit with them right now, please. Like, we want this. There's the reason we're asking you to do this. Just trust us. So please, go to your group. I think we're making it work. I'm so proud of you all. Well done, well done. Are you guys in the back? You good? You got to be in chairs, though, so get in some chairs back there. Get in some chairs. And if we need to move groups up a little bit to make space for other groups, please do that. All right, while you guys are getting settled, we're going to do something fun to kick this off. So we're going to play a game. A lot of you pay attention to what's going on in the world, or at the very least, you stare at products that are in your house. And so we're going to play a little game of spot the difference. Basically, you got to figure out which one of these is mistaken. You're going to tap into your memory. It's called mistaken memory. And so these guys are going to play up here, but basically the way it works is you're going to see two things on the screen. One of them is correct, and one of them is not. And it could be maybe something is spelled wrong. It could be that the graphic is wrong. So I'm going to let you figure out what is incorrect by talking to somebody next to you and saying, this is the thing that's actually true. Okay, so like between these two things, oh, that's the true one. You're going to play that game. These guys are going to play it too up here. So let's go to the first one and see what it actually is. First one. Can we go there, please? Maybe? It's coming. I believe it. The RS is different. That is good. That would be a good icebreaker. That is correct. Well done. You win if that was your answer. Awesome. Okay. I believe 30 seconds. Okay, tell somebody next to you how amazing they look tonight. Tell them, say, I like your whatever, shoes, eyebrows, scarf.
Tony, you look amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, Tony, I enjoy your shirt.
Thank you. Compliment them on their suspenders. Okay. All right, we're going to try the slides in about 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, do we got it? All right, whenever it goes up, that's the game. It's going to go up, and when it goes up, you just tell the person next to you. You can keep telling them how good looking they are. That's awesome. Which is probably weird. You probably never told your buddy, you have good looking belt buckle. I don't know, whatever. All right. We'll get there. Let's see here. I think if I have a fun story. No, I can't share that. I'll share that later. Okay, I was just talking to myself. That way I know somebody's listening. When you talk to yourself, you know somebody's listening. Hey, I think something just happened. Okay, and that's the instructions. There we go, play. Tell the person next to you. Which one of these is correct or incorrect? No Googling allowed.
I think it's the first one. Wait. Yeah.
I have no idea.
All right, the answer is the spelling of that is the actual Cruella. All right, let's do the next one. What is correct? If you've ever played Monopoly, you should know this. What do you think?
Ben?
I think that he does have the eye thing.
Yeah, he has said the eye thing.
All right, Ben, monocle or no monocle? Yeah, which one?
Number one.
Number one. Let's see, the correct answer is no monocle. Oh, no. Oh, no. All right. Next one. The correct spelling of the Christian chicken. What is it?
It's the bottom one.
I actually ate this today. I should know this. I ate Chick-fil-A today.
It's the bottom one, right?
By the way, did you notice that the C looks like a chicken? Huh? Right? Okay, the correct answer, it is with a K. Otherwise, it would be Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A. All right. What does Darth Vader say as his famous line?
It's the second one.
It is
I'm sorry if we spoiled it for you. The movie's been out a long time, all right?
Ben, do you think it's the first or the second one?
It's no, I am your father.
Okay, what's the answer? It's that. It's that.
I apparently haven't watched Star Wars enough.
All right. All right, come on. If you've ever had Fruit Loops, you should know this. How do you spell Fruit Loops?
Second one.
I'm gonna go first one.
Who likes Fruit Loops? Who likes Fruit Loops? Anybody? Yeah. All right, correct answer. All right, let's do another one.
It's the second one.
I think I've seen both.
First or second one?
I don't know. Second one.
It used to be you would only know this if you were like obscurely into Pokemon, but this is the most popular Pokemon out there. The correct answer is no stripe. No stripe. No stripe. All right. How do you spell it? How do you spell it?
Oh, it's the first one. Right?
I'm gonna go second one.
What do you think?
Yeah. The
Yeah?
American language.
All right, correct answer is with a stain. The Berenstain. Berenstain. Berenstain Bears. All right, do we got another one? Oh, yeah. Is there or is there not a minor dash?
I'm going for the second one.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Like we look at these things all the time, right? All right, correct answer is no, there is not. No, there is not. Okay, let's do another one. Here we go. What does the mirror in Snow White say? Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? Or magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of them all? What does she say to the mirror?
It's the second one.
I'm going the first one.
Correct answer.
To be fair, I have never seen that movie.
We all know the answer to that question. It would be Ben. It would be Ben. Ben is the fairest of them all. That's right. That's good. All right. Which one is it? Which one is it?
Ben, what do you think?
I'm thinking it's the first one.
What do you think?
I've never seen that before, so.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna go both.
Hot dogs, bologna. Yeah, there we go. That's great. All right, let's do one more. Which one is it?
The second one.
I'm thinking it's the second one. What are you thinking, Tony?
Either way, it's Looney Tunes.
Second one.
All right, the correct answer is 2. Well done, well done. Give everybody an applause for playing the game. Well done, well done, well done. Awesome. I'll hang on to those, guys. I'll hang on to those. Thank you. All right. Say hello to somebody around you, be in front of you, behind you that you haven't said hello to. Say hello to somebody. Good to see you. Hello, hello. Good to see you all. Ear high fives. Wonderful. Well, hey, welcome to Riverside students. I'm so glad you guys are here tonight. You gals, you're super cool. You're my favorite, like some of my favorite people in the whole world. Most of you, not all of you. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. I was looking forward to being here. I literally have been like thinking about and praying about this message for a number of weeks, because what we're going to do tonight is something I just completely wish somebody would have done for me when I was sitting in a chair very much like you. I still, to this day, don't know everything in the Bible. There's a lot about the Bible I'm still discovering and understanding, but I would just say I have a good foundational understanding of the Bible. It took me a while. It took me like a lot of years to get there because I was just kind of lazy. I wouldn't read the Bible. And I know I probably could have gotten there a lot faster, but that was just my journey. And when I did finally get there, I was like, man, this is way cooler, way more amazing than anything. But even then, even when I got like a big picture understanding of the Bible, because let's face it, there's a lot of stories in the Bible and it's hard to connect them all. When I got that big picture understanding, it still didn't mean that when life hit me hard with a big question, that I knew exactly what to do and how to process it. And so what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to try to show you how to navigate some of the big questions that we all wrestle with or are given to us by people who are trying to dismantle our faith. And what do we do with it? And I really want to encourage you to take whatever notes make sense to you. That's why on your notes page tonight, it's just blank, because it's really on you to decide what you want to take notes on. Now, I will tell you this. If you do take the notes that really stand out to you and you think about them and you process them, then you are going to build a muscle tonight that will help you in life forever. Like forever. As you go through life, you're going to have this thing to tap on because, I don't know, like every once in a while, something kind of big happens in life that we can't control. Can anybody think of anything in your life that happened to you recently, like in the last maybe year or two that you couldn't control, and it's just sort of changed a lot about your life? Can anybody think of something like that? Yeah. Sometimes it's the same thing for all of us, and other times it's something very specific to you and to your life. So I want to make sure you guys catch this tonight. It's why we're talking about what does it mean to live upright. And what I love about this word is they're two positive words. It's living up, which is very positive, like to live up versus down. To live up and to live right. If you live up in the direction of the Lord and you do it right, then you will actually live an upright life, which sounds kind of unique in a very opinionated world. The reason this is important is because truth does exist. And I want to talk to you tonight about a lot of different aspects about truth. And so let's start with the very first simple one. Truth has consequences. I'm going to share 4 of these thoughts with you up front. The first is this: truth has consequences. If you have ever been behind the wheel of a car in this room, raise your hand, whether you were doing it legally or not. I'm just curious. Okay. Maybe you've sat like on your dad's lap or your mom's lap or somebody and you did that. And then others, you are actually driving, you have a license, right? Or maybe you use something, like maybe you have your own vehicle that you do stuff with. You drive a tractor around your house, or you have your own thing. So here's the reason I'm asking this question is, even if you've ever just sort of played around with it, you know that a car is a pretty big deal and it can cause a lot of damage. But what happens sometimes is you forget that. I remember the first car accident that I caused. And I want to share with you quickly about what happened. I had been in a car accident already. I'd been in a few that people had hit me, or if my mom or dad was driving, I'd been in a couple of those. This is the first one I caused. I was in traffic. I was probably, I don't know, maybe 19 or 20. I was in traffic. I was driving like one of my favorite cars I've ever owned. It was a red Mustang. I still don't know to this day how I got it. Like I got a crazy deal on this thing. It was so cool. And I'm listening to the radio, because you got to have a good radio in the car, right? I'm listening to the radio. And I'm like, oh, it's so good. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm stuck in traffic. And then traffic starts to move. And I go, oh, cool. I got to have the right song because now we're moving. So traffic's moving. So my brain says, well, I got a second. So I take my foot off the brake because I know now we're starting to move. And I'm messing around with the radio. All of a sudden, and what had happened is traffic had moved like 2 feet. But I thought it was moving. And so I took my foot off, I started to push the accelerator, and I created an accident. It happened because despite how convinced I was that the truth of the situation was things were moving forward, the reality of the situation was it was not. The truth of the situation was traffic hadn't moved, and truth has consequences. And my willingness to pay attention to those things has consequences for me. It had a very expensive bill that I had to pay, $2,000 between my vehicle and that vehicle, because I needed to find the right stupid song on the radio, and I had assumed everything. I assumed I knew everything about that moment when I actually did not. So I caused an accident because truth has consequences. Truth has really good consequences too. If you pick a good friend and you do life with that friend and you help each other and you speak life into each other and you don't pick on each other, like that is really good consequences as well. This is why it says in the book of Hosea, Hosea, by the way, is an Old Testament prophet, and he said a number of really interesting things. But one thing he said was on God's behalf, my people are destroyed by a lack of knowledge. Which means if you don't have the actual truth about something, you could cause an accident, or you can cause damage and destruction to your body or to a friendship or to your relationships with your parents. It could cause damage. If you don't have the truth about like your work situation and you're like, they don't care if I go in late, you could lose your job. There's a lot of things that truth will slam against you. And you could feel like you're never, ever, 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 ever going to get sick. And then one day you do. And you realize truth has consequences. There's another thing I want to talk to you about with truth, and that's that truth has design. Truth actually has design. So I want everybody to do this. Please, no cheating, okay? I'm going to ask everybody, don't do it yet. I'm going to ask everybody to close your eyes and bury your eyes in your arms so you can't see. So just one arm, if you could do this, okay? Or however you need to do it. Okay, so everybody do this right now. Close your eyes. Don't peek. Put your hand in your arm. Okay? And with your other hand, again, no peeking, I want everybody in this room to point to north. Point to north. Don't look yet. Point to north without looking. What direction is north? Okay, everybody start pointing, and then now look around the room. Just so you know, north is not up. Okay, that's not it. On the map it is. Okay. Now with your eyes open, everybody point to where you think north is. Where do you think north is? How many of you have changed your answer a few times? Yeah. Okay, put your arms down. Put your arms down. If you don't know where north is, you need something that's going to help you know what north is. It could be a very smart friend who knows where north is and who actually would get it right. Or you could use a compass, right? Or an app on your phone. You could do that too. And so if you were like, hey, I want to go to Canada, I think north is that way, and you just randomly start driving, you may not end up in Canada. You might end up in South Dakota or Iowa, or you might go somewhere else. By the way, I'm just going to tell you this. I was on a trip a couple weeks ago speaking at a camp in Iowa, and we stopped at a rest stop. I'm so sorry. I'm going to pick on Iowa for a minute. We stopped at a rest stop, and at the rest stop, we were at this rest stop. You know how they have those, like, here are all the amazing things you can do in our area, like those little brochures at rest stops? We stopped at a rest stop. They had brochures for other states. There was nothing about Iowa in this entire thing. It was like, we know, just go. It was so, I'm sorry, I just totally picked on Iowa. That was not in my notes. So I will just tell you that if you don't know where north is, right, you're going to miss out. But there is a north, and there is a south, and there is a west, and there is an east. There is design to this world. There are ways that God has made it possible for us to move through this world. And again, it tells us here in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. There is a design to all things. Everything has a design. Does anybody have a drink on them by chance, like a cup of something or a bottle of something? Can you bring it up real quick? A couple of them. Would you just bring those up real quick? I'm just going to borrow it. I'll give it right back to you. So we got a bottle of water here. Great. Anybody else have something? Maybe you came in with Starbucks or Caribou or I don't know, something. Anybody else? Yes? You got something here? You got something? Oh, this is a fan. I like this water bottle. This is great. That's okay. I'll get right back to you. Okay, perfect. All right. Now, somebody took the time to design these contraptions. We have a bottle of water. We have what looks to have been maybe in a smoothie. That was my guess. I'm a smoothie guy, so I can identify. We've got a Red Bull, and we've got like a personal water bottle. A lot of you, how many of you put like stickers on your bottles when you get them? Anybody in this room? Yeah, a few of you do. So there are designs to these, but here's what's interesting. The one thing that these random items, again, I didn't know how this was going to play out. The one thing they all have in common is what? They hold something. Yep. Maybe there are more things, but here's what I'm thinking. In terms of their design, where does the water or the fluid come out? Why does it come out the top? Gravity, right? They got to obey the law of gravity. What's another reason it comes out the top? The cap is up there. I know we're thinking deep thoughts about Red Bull containers and stuff, but yes. Well, okay, because they're meant to serve us, right? And we're going to be probably above this drink. Like, you're not going to be down here drinking, which you could, but that would be really weird. Like, if you were, like, walking along the sidewalk and you see somebody, like, taking their drink like this. Like, that would be weird, like a waterfall drink. But, like, their design, most things have a design to serve and to point to the designer in some ways. So, all right, I don't know who gave these to me, but I'm going to hand them back to you because I'm all done. Thank you. You got those. And there you go. Thank you so much. All right, welcome. Thanks for doing that. All right, now, this is the first thing we learn about God. The first thing we learn about God, we just read here in the scriptures, is that there is a creator. If you are willing to acknowledge this truth, the rest of your life will be changed because this entire world reflects some sort of nod to who the creator is and how he designed things. And even though we are still living in a very broken version of that because of sin and other things, we don't see things completely how they are. Truth does have design. There is gravity. There is a reason for the things we design. They're meant to serve as a tool or bless us or bless others in some way. Truth also, by the way, has freedom. When you know what the truth is, Jesus says, you will actually live free. And freedom is actually a pretty amazing thing. Like lies, living in lies brings slavery. Here's what I mean by this. When you tell somebody a lie, well, what do you have to remember the next time you see that person? You got to remember the lie. And if you tell people a lot of lies, that's a lot of baggage to carry around in your head. It's a form of mental slavery because you are always going to have to remember the version of yourself you tried to be or say that you were in that moment. But if you tell the truth wherever you go, you could have no memory. You could have zero memory and still be the same authentic version of yourself wherever you go. But we're afraid to do that. We talked about fear last few weeks. We're afraid to be our honest selves sometimes before people. And so we manage things. When you know what's true, you can live in that truth. Otherwise, we just keep telling ourselves stories. This is a classic story. Maybe you've heard it. There's a little boy out one day. He's pitching up a ball up in the air. He's trying to hit it. And so he says, I am the greatest baseball player in the world. And he tries to hit it and he misses. He grabs the ball, he throws it up. He goes, I'm the greatest baseball player in the world. Boom, and he misses again. He throws it up in the air. I am the greatest baseball player in the world. And misses. And he stops in defeat and he goes, I am the greatest pitcher in the world. I think it's a cool story. Anyway. Kenny Rogers. Thank you. Kenny Rogers? What'd you say? Kenny Rogers. Oh, is it a song? How did I not know that? Oh my goodness. And I know Kenny Rogers. I just didn't. The greatest player. All right, thank you. So, thank you for knowing. Now, see, I didn't know that. I trust you. That's good truth. Truth also, by the way, has accountability. Here's the last thing I want to share with you along these lines. Truth has accountability. The Bible says, listen to this. The Word of God, we understand these are all contained here in this book. The Word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates to dividing soul and spirit, joint and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart. Nothing that we believe is true simply because we believe it. Nothing. You could talk yourself into thinking things about yourself. That's actually not a bad idea sometimes, but it's only good if you're actually saying true things to yourself. If you're saying false things to yourself, it's really bad. I have had students over the years who have come up to me and started a conversation, like over all the years I've worked with students, they've started a conversation by just saying, oh, I'm so ugly. And they really believe it. Now, as somebody who cares about them, if I say to them, yeah, you're right, you're completely horrid looking, right? Hang on a second. I would be not only listening to their destructive thought about themselves, I would be helping them double down on it. And as a good friend, I shouldn't do that. When your friends tell you things about themselves that are not true, it's a good idea to say, actually, maybe you're having a rough day, and that could be very well the case. But when I think about how you look, that's not the first thing that comes to mind. I don't think that. So that's true. So you can think that about yourself, but probably a lot of us don't see you that way. And maybe if you've had a few people tell you that, that's on them. But you're not. So, like, you can correct your friends when they tell you destructive things about their identity that are not true. You can actually say things and say, I know you're maybe expecting me just to affirm or agree with what you're saying, but I'm actually going to try to speak truth into this instead. Truth has accountability. This, by the way, is one of the reasons why, if you read the opening chapters of the Bible, how Satan tempted Adam and Eve, he tempted them by getting them to think thoughts about themselves that weren't true, but they sounded true-ish. They sounded like true enough that they actually believed them. So, truth has consequences. Truth has design. Truth has freedom. Truth has accountability. Now, I'm sharing all this with you because this whole bundle of stuff we're going to do tonight has to do with the fact that truth exists. And there are two kinds of truth. I want to make sure you understand how this plays out, because everything we do next will be greatly impacted by how much we understand what we're talking about now. So please catch this. Because in a little bit, I'm going to ask you to ask questions tonight about anything you want to ask questions about. It could be things that your friends are bringing up. It could be things that you've been wondering. It could be things your mom or dad kind of slammed down. It could be things against Christianity. It could be things about Christianity you don't understand. You could ask anything you want, and we're going to provide a real easy way for you to do it. But before we do, I want you to understand that there are true answers, and there are two types of truth. The first is what we would call objective truth. Objective truth is simply that. It's about the object of truth. It has no subject involved with it. In other words, it just simply means this. It is valid because it actually matches up with reality. Versus subjective truth, it is valid only within your feelings. It is completely valid to you, but it's not like big truth. It's like personal things that you have found to be true. So for example, if I were to say to you, man, I will never eat at another Burger King again in my life. And you would say, why? And I would say, because it is horrible. The food there is trash, and the employees pull out switchblades on you when you're trying to order your food. And one time I was there, and a car piled in the Burger King. If I just went over the top and sharing crazy stuff, I'm not saying that all that happened. But if I were to tell you that was my personal experience with Burger King, and it is personally true in my experiences. But it's not objectively true, because I've been in some Burger Kings that are actually quite nicely kept and well managed. And I don't know what you think about the one here locally, but I'm just telling you, one example or your examples are not the ultimate example. But you have had those experiences. So those are valid within your scope of experiences, but I think we would all agree there's a much larger truth. Okay? Can everybody just try to grasp this with me? There are your experiences which feel universally true to you, but they are not. They're not universally true. And then there is truth that no matter what anyone thinks about it, it exists. Is everybody kind of following that so far? Yes? Okay. Hopefully you're following along. Because I want you to write down on your notes, what is one word for you that sums up how you understand Jesus? Write that word down right now. What is one word for you that sums up how you, keep in mind where I'm going with this, how you understand Jesus? Whether you've had a big church background or this is your first night with us, when you hear the name Jesus, one word only, what comes to mind? Write it down, everybody. Write it down. You guys struggle with it for a second, it's fine. But write it down. Don't try to think of the right answer. I'm asking you to give me your answer. If I say, hey, Jesus, what do you immediately think or what comes to your spirit? And this is super hard because you weren't thinking about it in advance. That's why I'm asking you right now. Write it down. You don't have to share it, but I want you to write it. Please write it. If you're sitting there not doing anything, do something. Write it down. What is one word that describes how you think about Jesus? It's going to get really cool here in a moment. All right, now, I want you to pay attention to what you wrote down. I want you to pay attention. Whatever your answer was, look at it for a second. What would you notice if somebody else wrote this down? what would you notice about your answer that is accurate but is also incomplete? Just notice. Just look at your answer. Nobody else's. But if somebody else were looking at this and go, okay, they wrote down this. Well, how is that maybe accurate, but how is it also incomplete? And if you could even just wrestle with that for a moment. How is your answer accurate and how is it incomplete? I'm not saying it's wrong, but how is it incomplete? If you could own that, let's go back to what we just talked about. There's objective truth and there's subjective truth. Does your belief about Jesus line up with objective reality or just personal subjective reality? And I'll give you the answer. If you just riffed this out without even considering, what does the scripture teach? What have I learned over the years through study? If you're just kind of belting this out in a gut and going, homeboy, Jesus is my homeboy, whatever you wrote down. Somebody in this room, I bet you wrote that down, right? Somebody wrote down homeboy. A couple of you did, all right? But if you just wrote this completely out of zero experience with truth, then it's absolutely a subjective answer. But if your answer maybe flowed out of study and the time you spent all the way up until the moment I asked you, trying to understand who Jesus is, being here on Wednesdays, talking to fellow believers, asking people who are mentoring you, small group leaders, hey, who is Jesus to you and who do I think he is? And am I going to say yes to him? Am I going to get baptized? All these decisions you've wrestled with maybe for a minute or years or decades, who knows? Whatever that is for you guys, whatever that is, I want you to just grade that. And I want you to hang on to your answer because we're going to ask you another question. Here's the next one. What is one thing that you want in life to be different than the way it is or to be affirmed by everybody for the way it is? Like this is you and all of the things that you want and your experiences and all those things. What is one thing in your life that you, whoever you are, all right, that you just personally want to either be completely different than the way it is or completely stay the same and everybody needs to just agree with you? We see this during like political season, right? That's a super easy topic. But I'm asking like you, what do you care about personally? You're like, I think everybody should be a vegan. Or I think everybody should stop going to Starbucks and go to Caribou. Or I just think everybody should stop saying these things and start saying these things. Or I think everybody, like finish that sentence. What is something that just matters to you? Write it down. Write it down. You could talk all night about whatever this thing is. Like if somebody got you going, you'd be like, oh, let me tell you. I got opinions about this. I have thoughts about this. I have desires about this. I'm going to ask a question out loud. I want you to all shout your answer out when I count to 3. The best flavor of ice cream is 1, 2, 3. If you really believe it, I want you to say it louder this time. The best flavor of ice cream is 1, 2, 3. Interesting. Well, the correct answer is key lime. I'm just letting you know. The correct answer is totally key lime. And I'll arm wrestle you for it. I'm just telling you. Key lime. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing again, and you might have to think a little bit further about this because you may or may not have an answer to this one. The best flavor of Mountain Dew is 1, 2, 3, go. The best flavor of Mountain Dew is 1, 2, 3, go. How many of you said none? None at all. All right, that's great. Okay, that's fair. Now, what we just did, what we just shared, were loud opinions about things that we have had maybe personal experience with. And again, to you, those things feel true. They feel true, but are they true? Okay? You would say experientially yes, but are they universally always true? Now, let me just flip this. If I were to say, hey, we talked about ice cream and we talked about Mountain Dew, do ice cream and Mountain Dew, could both of those contribute to somebody getting diabetes? There was almost zero disagreement on that, maybe a couple of you. If I were to say, if you ate a ton of ice cream and drank a lot of Mountain Dew, could that contribute to weight gain? Yes? Okay, so again, we didn't really seem to argue on that. Do you see what just happened? We talked about personal truth that none of us agree on, but yet there was this real easy lane that we lived in about objective truth. I think this is very, very interesting. I'm going to come back to this, but I want you to remember this moment. Okay, pay attention to whatever you wrote down about what you want to be different or affirmed. Here's the next one. What is one value or belief that others, or maybe even culture as a whole, has handed you? Like, maybe you're thinking, oh, these are values my parents gave me, really good values that I like. So you would write that down. Or you would say, yeah, today in school, I was told that I have to say this. Or I work at a job and I was told that when I talk to people, I'm not allowed to say this, but I have to say that. What is a value that somebody has handed to you, whether you wanted them to hand it to you or not? And it seems to just be handed to you often. Write it down. What is a value or a belief that you've been handed? Could be something shallow, like my dad used to tell me that Pepsi tastes better than Coke, and that was a value he handed to me. Yeah, I kind of landed on Dr. Pepper myself, actually. But then I'm like, I can't keep drinking this. This is too good. I'm going to drink way too much of this. So I've taken a sabbatical from Dr. Pepper, but it's still my, oh, I see you, Dr. Pepper. I see you. You want me to have some Dr. Pepper. Okay. Some of you have been handed the value that your phone is horrible unless it's an iPhone. Somebody has handed that value to you. Somebody who wants you to spend way more money on an iPhone than you would on another phone, and to make you feel like you're paying for validation because you now are in the in club. Somebody has paid a lot of advertising money to make you feel like unless you have an iPhone, your phone is junk and you are horrible and you should never bring it out in public because people are going to laugh at you. I'm saying that as a proud Android user, everybody. That's me. I'm an Android user. Ha ha ha! Laugh in my face. I have saved way more money. Thank you. Well, whatever. Okay, so, but I'm not anti-iPhone. I just don't need one. I don't want one for a number of reasons. If you have an iPhone, I'm not going to pick on you for it, so don't pick on me for my Android. But I will tell you this. I have absolutely been handed the value many, many times that I just need to get an iPhone. I just need to get an iPhone. I just need to get an iPhone. And every time I hear that, I have to consciously say, are you telling me truth, or are you telling me your experiential feeling of truth? And I have to do business with that. Okay, hang on to this too. Again, pay attention to what we came down on this. All right, now we're going to test all this out, because here's what happens. When we're trying to figure out if something is subjective or objective, what we have is what I would just call a filter. And your filter for everything we're about to talk about tonight is going to be who you think Jesus is, plus whatever agenda or passion you have in life, plus whatever culture has handed to you. That is going to be your filter on any hot topic that comes up tonight. And this is what I absolutely am looking forward to experiencing with you guys tonight. Because somebody's in this room is going to ask a question tonight, and you're going to have a very quick answer. But what you're not going to realize is the filter you processed your answer through. You're not going to realize what it was that was put upon you to even make you want to answer the question that way. And it has to do with what you think about God. Because, by the way, whatever you think about God, whether you believe in him or not, is the biggest, loudest filter in your life. If you believe God exists, you might actually live life a little differently. And if you believe that you have a relationship with God that's good, you're going to live life a little differently. If you feel like you're always on weird ground with God, you're going to live life differently. That's huge. What you want out of life is going to push things in that direction. And again, we're going to test this out. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I don't want you to give me the yes or no answer. This is going to be super hard. I'm daring you to not give me the yes or no, true or false answer. I want you to tell me if this question is an objective truth question or a subjective truth question. Here's the first one. Diet Coke has fewer calories than regular Coke. Is that an objective truth question, or is that a subjective truth question? Tell somebody next to you. Diet Coke has less calories than regular Coke? How many of you say that's an objective truth question because it can be proven or disproven? Okay, how many of you say, no, that's a subjective question? Okay, it's maybe because the word few is in there, maybe it's hard to quantify. All right, let's try another one. 2 plus 2 equals 4. Don't say true or false. I'm asking you what kind of question it is. Is that objective or is that subjective, generally speaking? How many of you say objective? How many of you say subjective? Usually there's like a math person who says, well, technically it's not, I'm like, yeah, I know technically you could do all kinds of stuff, generally speaking. Okay, here's another one. Hawaii is the most beautiful place you could ever visit. How many of you say objective? How many of you say subjective? What if I were to add compared to Minnesota? Okay, if I were to say Hawaii is the most beautiful place you could ever visit compared to Minnesota, how many of you would say that's an objective truth? How many of you say that's subjective? What if I said compared to Iowa? I'm just curious if the answer would change. I don't know. I got to stop picking on Iowa. Okay. All right. Here's another one. It's going to get a little more complicated. Here's another one. George Washington was the first United States president. Is that objective or is that subjective? Don't be afraid to answer. How many of you say that's an objective? How many say that's subjective? Okay. A little bit of division on that. Here's what I think is our struggle. This is a historical question, which means none of us were there. I don't think any of us were there. Was anybody there? None of us were there. So we have to rely on two things. We have to rely upon the evidence that has been handed to us and the credibility of that evidence. And we have to rely upon the time we've taken to study that question. Put those two things together. So, and whether or not the evidence was credible to begin with. So again, very important we recognize now we're getting into categories of truth. Historical truth can be an objective thing that we can go back to. We can say, is Minnesota a state or is it a country, right? And we would go, well, I mean, you kind of feel like a country, it's pretty big, but no, it's state. Compared to like Europe, I mean, it's bigger than maybe Italy, right? Who knows? But technically, if you go back to the documents that we find, it is a state. Great. Here's another one. If I were to ask you, can Pastor Tony bench 300 pounds? Yes. No. I'm not asking you. No, don't tell me yes or no. I'm asking you, is that an objective truth or is that a subjective truth? Is it an objective question or can it be measured? Can it be figured out? Thank you. But see, this is great. Thanks, guys, for doing that. Because we quickly wanted to answer the question without taking the time to think about what kind of question is this. And that's what we often do. We jump to the answer without recognizing our filter and wanting to answer that question. By the way, the correct answer is, I don't think so. I mean, we could try. I don't think so. But we could try. Okay. We've talked about historical questions. We've talked about math questions. Let's try one more. If you were to take baking soda and vinegar and mix them together, would anything happen? Now, hang on. Don't say yes or no. Is that an objective question or a subjective question? Okay, how many of you say objective? Objective. You could figure that out. How many of you say subjective? Okay. That's a question of science. So we have history, math, science. We're going to get into a really weird one here. I'm going to ask the question. You're going to be tempted to give an answer. Don't give an answer. I want you to think about what kind of question it is. If somebody has committed a horrific crime where they have taken a life, is the death penalty right or, don't answer, or wrong? What kind of question did I just ask you? A subjective or objective? Think about this. Talk about it in your small group for a second. Talk about it in your small group. Circle up. Talk with your group. Take 20 more seconds on this. 20 more seconds. Objective or subjective? I'm going to walk around the room and get a couple of your thoughts. Green microphone here. Okay. So, what did you guys generally conclude? What kind of a question is it?
Objective.
You guys are saying subjective. Who would tell me why, whatever your answer was?
I got you.
Okay, thank you.
It's objective because I bet somewhere in the Bible it says the answer.
Okay, so maybe this is something that there's a biblical thought on. Daniel, you have a thought over here? Yep. Okay, coming over. So what did you say, whether it was subjective or objective?
Objective because we all have this sense of right and wrong, like killing as being wrong. And that points to there being a universal moral truth. And that truth is God, therefore we have something to judge it against.
Okay, wonderful. All right, Lamar, I'm just going to hand this down to you. Grab it. Good.
I would say it's subjective because you didn't say like if it's on purpose or not. So if you hit someone with your car that like jumped in front of the car, you don't automatically die for that.
Oh, interesting.
Or if someone attacks you and you shoot them,
Okay.
It's not your fault that they're dying.
Involuntary versus voluntary. And you're right, my question didn't cover that. So you would want to know more about the question. That's good. Caleb, yeah, what do you think?
Mine was it depends on whether, as he said, it was on accident or on purpose. So I would say if it's on purpose, it's objective. The Bible says that in Leviticus about the death penalty.
Okay.
And if it was on accident, or in self-defense, like if you accidentally drop something, break off the building, if you're working on it and somebody on the street below and you kill them accidentally.
Okay.
I don't think you should. Then it's a matter of opinion.
Okay, got it. All right, now I'm going to ask you another question. I want you to imagine, similar category here, and this is just you. I want you to think about your answer to this, not your small group's answer. Imagine that you are in your house and you're doing the dishes and you're completely like in the middle of whatever this space is. You have no awareness of what's behind you, okay? And somebody in your family comes up to you and says, "Is it okay to kill this?" You have no clue what they're talking about. You have no clue what they're talking about. What kind of a question is it? Okay, we're getting kind of all over the map on this. Let me help you out. Let me help you out. The correct answer is you don't know. The correct answer is you don't know. Because what if they're talking about a cockroach? If you found out that they were asking you, "Is it okay to kill this?" What would your answer be? Some of you would say, "Absolutely, kill it." What if it was a snake in your house? "Is it okay to kill this?" What if it was a cat? So bad. I can't believe somebody said, all right. All right, hang on. Let's keep going. What if it was a baby? Hang on. Please listen. Please listen. That was quicker, by the way. That was interesting. I said, what if it was a baby? Why did we say no to that? Because a baby is a person, and we know that somehow, who knows how? Actually, there's a reason. Who knows how, but the Bible tells us, because God has written his law in all of our hearts, we know that human life is kind of unique and different than a lot of other things. So some of us quickly said, no. Okay, hang on. What if that baby is annoying? What if that baby is inconveniencing the person who's holding it in some way? You're like, how could you even think to ask that question? I know, I'm sorry. Okay, hang on. What if that baby is making the person who's carrying it annoyed and inconvenienced, and it happens to be inside of them? Okay, thank you. I'm so grateful that you're all wrestling with this, but again, you are quickly responding, which I appreciate you having a kind of a morality. What we're talking about in all these questions is morality. And morality is really weird, because morality for a lot of us is how we absolutely passionately feel about something, but maybe our morality is broken. And if you don't check your morality against God and absolute universal truth that he has set up in this universe, you're going to be fighting for things that may or may not be of him. Just so you know, he is very much a fan of human life. He is very much a fan of humanity continuing and following him and trusting him and living with him, even though he has at times in the scriptures allowed for violence to stop other violence. But his general first principle is life. And so your quick response to that, which I found really interesting, doesn't it get a lot weirder when you have a friend who comes up to you who at age 15, 16, 17 says, I got pregnant, I don't know what to do, and I'm trying to figure out if I should get an abortion or not. Okay? No, please, hang on a second. For everybody who has a quick answer, you have to have a compassionate answer too. You have to have a compassionate answer. You have to be able to put your arm around that person and say, Can I just be with you for a moment? Can I just love you for a moment? That's a very good response, by the way. And then we can talk about this. But somehow holding a baby behind your back that you can't see, even if it's being annoying, we know the answer to that. But why does it get weirder when you know a friend who? Why is it that we're super clear on things until somebody in our life says, well, yeah, but I don't feel that way, or I don't identify with what you're saying, or I identify differently. Why does it get super, super weird? Brett, did we get that video? Is it, do we have it? Yes? Could we play that? I'd love to play that video. I want to show you guys this. I think this is very interesting. Let's watch this.
There's been a lot of talk about identity lately, but how far does it go? And is it possible to be wrong? We went to the University of Washington to find out.
Are you aware of the debate happening in Washington State around the ability to access bathrooms, locker rooms, spas based on gender identity and gender expression?
I think people should be able to have access to the facility.
I think bathrooms could and potentially should be gender neutral because there doesn't need to be a classification for differences.
I think people definitely should have the ability to go into whichever locker room they want.
I feel like at least public universities should do their best to accommodate for those who do not have a specific gender identity.
You know, whether you identify as male or female and whether your sex at birth is matching to that, you should be able to utilize the resources.
So if I told you that I was a woman, what would your response be?
Good for you. Okay, like, yeah.
Nice to meet you.
I'd be like, what? Really?
I don't have a problem with it.
I'd ask you how you came to that conclusion.
If I told you that I was Chinese, what would your response be?
I mean, I might be a little surprised, but I would say, good for you. Like, yeah, be who you are.
I would maybe think you had some Chinese ancestor.
I would ask you how you similarly came to that conclusion and why you came to that conclusion.
I would have a lot of questions, just because on the outside I would assume that you're a white man.
If I told you that I was 7 years old, what would your response be?
I wouldn't believe that immediately.
I probably wouldn't believe it, but I mean, it wouldn't really bother me that much to go out of my way and tell you, no, you're wrong. I'd just be like, oh, okay, he wants to say he's 7 years old.
If you feel 7 at heart, then then so be it. Yeah, good for you.
So if I wanted to enroll in a first grade class, do you think I should be allowed to?
Probably not, I guess. I mean, unless you haven't completed first grade up to this point and for some reason need to do that now.
If that's where you feel like mentally you should be, then I feel like there are communities that would accept you for that.
I would say so long as you're not hindering society and you're not causing harm to other people, I feel like that should be an okay thing.
If I told you I'm 6 feet 5 inches, what would you say?
That I would question.
Why?
Because you're not. No, I don't think you're 6'5".
If you truly believed you're 6'5", I don't think it's harmful. I think it's fine if you believe that. It doesn't matter to me if you think you're taller than you are.
So you'd be willing to tell me I'm wrong?
I wouldn't tell you you're wrong.
No, but I say that I don't think that you are.
I feel like that's not my place as like another human to say someone is wrong or to draw lines or boundaries.
No, I mean, I wouldn't just go like, oh, you're wrong, like that's wrong to believe in it. Because I mean, again, it doesn't really bother me what you want to think about your height or anything.
So I can be a Chinese woman.
You. Sure.
But I can't be a 6'5" Chinese woman.
Yes.
If you thoroughly debated me or explained why you felt that you were 6'5", I feel like I would be very open to saying that you were 6'5", or Chinese, or a woman.
It shouldn't be hard to tell a 5'9" white guy that he's not a 6'5" Chinese woman. But clearly it is. Why? What does that say about our culture? And what does that say about our ability to answer the questions that actually are difficult?
Let's answer his question. Why is it hard to answer simple questions? Talk to your small group. Why is it hard to answer those types of questions at any age? Go. If you have a thought you wouldn't mind coming up and sharing real quick, come on up and share it. Why are those questions challenging? Come on up if you have something you want to share. Right now, if you want to do it, come on up. Let me give you a couple other questions. These are true or false statements. I want you to try to decide what kind of questions they are. I was in Florida today. True or false? What kind of question is it? See, a lot of you quickly jump to true, but I'm asking what kind of question it is. Why do we keep going there? Why do we keep answering the question before we think about the question? Some of you know that because I posted it on Instagram. I actually was in Florida this morning. I woke up in Orlando. There were palm trees all around me. I was wearing shorts. It was beautiful. And then I chose to leave it because I wanted to be here with you guys. I was at a meeting for the Life Conference. Yeah, you guys are better. You guys are better in Florida. You guys are better in Florida. But, thank you, I appreciate that. But here's what I will tell you is we were working on the Life Conference, myself and a group of people. We came from all over the country because we want that experience to be really amazing. And so that's why we were there. We weren't just goofing around. Although here's another one. Did I go to Disney World while I was there? What kind of question is it? What kind of question is it? I either did or I didn't. It's an objective one. And the correct answer is I did last night. I did. I have a cousin who works at Disney World, and she took my sister and I for free into the Magic Kingdom, which was great. All right. Does anybody not want to come up on a microphone and explain why those questions are difficult to answer? Okay. Green microphone. Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I think that
Hang on. Do we have the microphone handy, the green microphone? Yes, thumbs up. Green microphone. Keep talking.
Hello.
There we go. Okay, yeah. Why is
I
it?
think that the reason that people will just say, like, if you're a 7-year-old, so you're like a white male, that's like, what, 5'9" or something.
Yep.
And then you'll say that and then add all those together, like you're a, Asian woman, 7-year-old Asian woman that's 6'5". If you put all that together, then it's like, wait, you're not all of that. And I think these people these days, if you say that you feel something, or if, I feel like that, then, you must be. But look at the facts of it, like, you're not. So I'm going to tell you that you're not, and I'm going to tell you why you're not.
That's good. So kind of like what I was saying with the girls or guys who would come up to me and say, I just look horrible. If I affirm that, I am doing something destructive. Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
If somebody comes up to me and says, I am ugly, and if I say, you're absolutely right, you're ugly, I will not disagree with you. That's your personal truth. If I say that, that's destructive, isn't it? Because that is not healthy for somebody to think about. Now, if somebody says, hey, I think today my hair looks a little off, and maybe I could be doing a better job. Well, that's a little different versus I am completely worthless and ugly, and no one will ever love me. That is a very destructive thought, and I would not be a good friend. So would I be a good friend if somebody came up to me and said, hey, I think I am a 6'2" Chinese woman who's a 5-year-old, or whatever the case would be. If it wasn't true, should I just go, well, yay, that's your truth? Or should I take the time to say, well, let me enter into that with you for a moment? So, yeah, good. Okay.
Can I also add something?
Yeah, please do.
So, like, I've heard, like, there's this book I'm reading, Psycho-Cybernetics, by Maxwell Maltz or something. And he's a plastic surgeon, and he is writing because he found out that, so people would go in, for plastic surgery, but they would look totally normal, but they think that, like, they don't look, stuff like that. Yeah. So he was like, I wonder why that is. And he thinks that, like, every single, like, plastic surgeon should be, like, a psychiatrist. Or, no, that's not the word. Like,
but have some sort of counseling connection, too. That. That's good. That's good. Thanks, Jack. Appreciate it. Okay, wonderful. Thanks for answering that. All right, Caleb, quick answer coming up. Why do you think we have struggle with these questions? Yep.
Well, the reason we have trouble saying no to people like this is often, it's because of culture. Often, like, for example, so culture is, why
don't you think about it? I'll come back to you. Okay, coming back to you. Yep. What do you think? Yeah, it's fine. Yep. You could, wherever you're standing is fine. Go ahead, though. Yep.
I said people don't want to kind of hear the truth.
People don't want to hear the truth. Ah, that's a really good answer. Interesting. And when we say truth, we are talking about objective truth as well as a challenge to their subjective truth. All right, what's your thought?
They might not like it when you say, like, no or something because they want to believe the thing, even though it's not true.
Yeah.
And then if you say yes and it's, like, about like, a bad thing.
Yep.
They're going to be, like, more, like, sad about it and stuff.
You're very observant. Yeah, very observant. Yes.
It's kind of scary when you have to answer those questions.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, wonderful. Yep.
I think it's
hard to answer those questions because some people just don't like confrontation,
Hmm.
and it's not something that they really want. And also sometimes it's easier to answer those questions to like friends rather than strangers, because strangers you don't know how to react to them.
Yeah.
Where friends, you know them and you know how they will react to your answer.
And that could, and I will agree with you, but I think sometimes it could be the opposite too, where it's harder to say something to your friend because you're going to see them again versus a stranger. So that could be both true. That's good. Yeah. What do you think?
People can get offended. Like nowadays, people are offended by so many things. It can be hard to say.
Mhm.
We need to stand up for God's truth that like you are who He made you to be, and that shouldn't change just because of what your opinion is.
That's great. I love it. Okay. All right, Caleb, you got it? Yep.
Yeah, it has to do with culture and acceptance.
Cool.
So, culture wants to be, people here want to be accepted. Like
Mhm.
I think we had a talk on a sermon on
Yep.
that a while back. Culture and all these people know that they want to be accepted, so they decide they're going to accept other people no matter what they say.
That's
No
good.
matter how ridiculous it might sound, they're going to accept them because they think then they might be accepted themselves, is what they think.
That's good. Thank you. Real quick, objective or subjective? It's a good idea to not be talking when somebody's on the microphone trying to share their heart. That's great. Just reminding you guys. Okay, yep.
I personally struggle with answering these kinds of questions because I know the weight of representing Christ on earth. And I just know that like the Lord would love first, and so I try not to be super confrontational and upfront about it right away because I know that we serve a come as you are God.
Interesting. That's good. You're right. It's a good challenge. All right. You're the last three. Here you go.
I feel like it's hard because society has turned it into a thing of where if you don't agree with how someone feels or what people think, it's blame on you, and you are now the bad person because you don't like how they're doing things or whatever, and that we're going against them and like being mean to them by not accepting who they feel they are or think they are. And I feel like we aren't allowed to say the truth because we're labeled as the people who are rude to say that stuff.
I like how you said that. You said you feel like we aren't allowed to say the truth, but we are. But like the feeling of not being allowed to say the truth is very much a part of things. I think you worded that really well. Okay, thank you. All right, come on up. Yeah.
It's hard because society expects you to act a certain way, even if you don't believe in something. It's hard to turn against that because people will judge you.
Yeah, we get stuck sometimes in situations. Really observant. Okay, yep, and?
I feel like the people were only still agreeing with the whole 7'5" and stuff because originally their first question they agreed to by saying it was their choice.
Yeah.
And that they were allowed to do this. So
Yes.
they just kept going with it's your choice. And
Yeah.
you're allowed to do this.
Because they dug a grave for themselves with the first answer. Exactly. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Okay, I'm gonna ask, this next part is going to be up to you guys to really make the most of. I'm gonna ask you to develop any question in your small group that you or your group would like to ask out loud tonight. We are gonna practice answering those questions in a way that encompasses everything we've just read. I am going to just read you something really quickly though. This is from Romans chapter 2. It's from a paraphrase called The Message. It says, "You didn't think, did you, that just by pointing your finger at others, you would distract God from seeing all your misdoings and from coming down on you hard? Or did you think that because he's such a nice God that he'd let you off the hook? Better think this one through from the beginning. God is kind, but he's not soft. In kindness, he takes us firmly by the hand and he leads us into a radical life change." I want you to hear just one more foundational truth here. God is absolutely loving, but it is never at the expense of his holiness. He is always righteous and true and trying to transform us. But his holiness is never at the expense of his love. They work together really well. And we as people usually do one of those better than the other. We're either really good at coming down on people about rules, or we're so good at loving, like the kind side, that we never confront. So I want to paint that picture for you because everything we're going to talk about next, up to you guys, all foundational stuff. So here's what I want you to do. Just by observing, this is observational truth, by observing, I know that not a lot of you are actually sitting with your small groups. You're still sitting with a friend because you have rebelled against the idea of doing a small group moment. I am asking you, please, for these next 5-10 minutes, would you please just join your small group and have a conversation? And small group leaders are going to collect your questions, and they're going to write them down and then ask them on your behalf. So you can write something down on a piece of paper that you don't have to stand up and ask, but I would like you to write it down. It could be about anything. I have a friend who, or what would you say if this was the case, or how do I discover this? Take about 5 minutes, write your questions down, and we'll collect them and we'll keep going. Go for it. Small group leaders, look around, make sure everybody's included around you, that nobody's on their own, please. Thank you. Actually, can we just hit pause for a second, everybody? Just quick pause. Quick pause. Our groups are really close to each other, and I really want you to have time with your group. So if you are in 8th grade, I want you to get up and go to the back corners, like the back corner space. 8th grade guys, 8th grade girls, get up, go to the back corner space. And everybody else, claim the space that they just gave you and scooch up or scooch around so that you're in a good group. If your group is right next to another group, please move. Please move. Thanks, guys. So just write your questions down, hand them to your small group leader. Hey, Trish. Trish. All right, you got 1 more minute to turn your questions into your small group leader. 1 more minute, and then small group leaders start to sort them. All right, time is about up. Go ahead and grab seats. Again, 8th grade and guys and gals, you can stay back there if you can, if you so desire, or you can come on up. All right, small group leaders, I'm asking you to sift through all your questions, maybe pick a few up top. And students, just so you know, we won't answer all of them tonight, but what we don't answer, we will go through our Instagram over the next several days, and we will try to address, make sure we get to all your questions eventually. So, all right, I have asked Trish to go around with a microphone, and she's going to do that here in a moment. If you're still with your small group, that's great. Hopefully you are. I would simply ask that everybody who asks a question, give them the opportunity to be heard. Give them the opportunity to consider why they asked the question to begin with. Because whenever a question is asked, we have to figure out not what do I immediately think or feel to that question. That's part of our filter. We have to ask the question, what is the best question I need to ask either internally or outside to better understand why that question was asked to begin with. For example, the should I kill it question. Well, why is somebody asking that? Because they just got bit by a snake? Well, then yes, but we also need to make sure that your wound is treated. There are other issues that are contributing to the reason it was asked. So let's start up here with this small group right here. Trish, would you grab a small group leader and we'll ask a question out loud. All right, so when the question is asked, don't answer it. Try to understand what kind of a question is going on here. Okay.
Why does the devil do what he does?
Okay. Why does the devil do what he does? We want to make sure that microphone's on. I think it's a green one. Okay, so first of all, what would be a question that we should ask to understand why this question is being asked? Why does the devil do what he does? So first of all, we have maybe somebody's asked this question because they're tired of all the bad stuff in this world. That's a fair thought. Maybe they're asking this question because as they've tried to read the Bible, they don't understand some things that they're reading. It could be a theological, biblical question. It could be that they just came here tonight with barely enough energy to walk in the door because 12 horrible things happened in their home. So, do you know why this question is even being asked? We don't. So we would want to ask a better question, like, why does this question matter to you? Now, once we've taken the time to understand that, we might get a better sense of how to answer the question. Are you following what I'm saying so far? Because if you don't know why somebody's asking the question, you may give them the wrong answer. You may give them a completely different answer than the one they're actually hoping to get. So let's just take the question for what it is without any of that background. Why does the devil do the things that he does? As we read in the scriptures, there is God, but then there's also his enemy, the devil. We understand from the scriptures that God is completely out, like he outmatches the devil in everything. He outmatches the devil in truth, in power, in presence. God is everywhere. The devil can't be everywhere. He has an army that works with him. They do tempt us. They do attack us. And at times, there are times where it feels like something is so evil as if Satan himself were present. That could very, very well be possible. Why does the devil do the things that he does? If you would read the scriptures, you would know that the devil has a backstory. And based on that backstory, based on how he started out versus who he is now, and based on the fact that he's pretty sure that he's not going to win, like he knows he's outmatched with God, he's probably just trying to take as many people that God loves down as if he's a crybaby in a game he can't win. Have you ever played with like a little kid who knows they're going to lose, and you start like pounding on the board or like throw the controller down, whatever the case would be? You're like that controller costs money. I don't care, and they're just so angry. There's a really good chance that that's part of the devil's motivation. However, he's also evil. He also has chosen to rebel against God, and the more he's done that, the more that becomes his nature. So that's a quick answer to the question. And I'm basing this, by the way, on passages from Isaiah, passages in Revelation, passages that Jesus talked about in Matthew. And I know that because I've taken the time to read this. But there's a lot more than I can understand about the devil, which means I need to get into the Bible more about that. So, quick answer to your good question. Let's do another question.
How do you gently correct someone who has a belief contrary to Scripture, but there's not a specific Scripture to fully explain the issue? Maybe take an issue like evolution, aliens, the purpose of space.
Yeah, that's really good. I love that. So, again, let's understand why the question is being asked. Sometimes, maybe you've encountered this. Somebody will try to attack one thing about our faith because their thought is, if I can dismantle that one thing that you don't have an answer for, then everything else I don't want to hear, I can now ignore. But here's what's weird about that. The same person will want us to find one thing in their life that we can't agree with and overlook everything else that we can't. It's a hypocritical standard. And so sometimes we will have a friend who will want us to just be okay with everything in their life because there are these 2 or 3 things about them that are really, really good. Sometimes in life, we get into abusive relationships, abusive dating relationships. Maybe you've known somebody who has dated somebody that has been hurtful to them, but they didn't get out of the relationship. And they were just like, yeah, but like he has these really nice qualities about him, or she has these really nice qualities about her, and it's so toxic. But we don't take the time to actually say we need to separate the good and the bad and go, okay, what is the dominant thought here? So if we're just talking about issues of disagreement, I think we just need to call them those things. I think saying to somebody, agreeing to disagree is one of the worst things we can say, because it's saying, well, let's just not talk about it and move on and pretend like this never came up. But agreeing that we can talk about something and not attack each other is a much better approach. And I think that's why we have to just commit to the friendship. So if I had a different view with somebody, this actually just happened over the weekend. I was in a meeting and we were talking about planning some things, and I had a very different view about something than the person across from me. And I felt like that person was saying what they were saying, not only because they felt it was true consciously, but what I knew about that person up to that point is they had a lot of hurt in their heart over this issue and hadn't figured it out yet. And so they were speaking out of a place of hurt. And so as much as it was making me angry and I wanted to correct them, it was on me to stop and say, okay, God, how do I not ignore this issue, but say it in a way that makes sense? And so the whole time I'm talking to this person, I'm also like up here praying, saying, God, I don't know where this is going, but I think you want me to say this, or what if I said this? How do I recover if this goes bad? I just knew that I needed to go in. I couldn't ignore that. And ultimately what ended up happening is we got right into the awkwardness with each other. But I just continue to find ways to say, I'm so glad that you care about this and help me understand why it matters to you. Now that I've heard you, can I share with you where I'm at on this? And then can we just put it all out on the table and look at it together? I have found that analogy for me is super helpful. When I just say, it feels like you got a bunch of stuff preloaded over here and I've got a bunch of stuff preloaded over here. Can we just put all of our parts on the table, and instead of debate, can we just look at them together and show me why you think that? And can I show you why I think this? And when we did that, we talked about it without it becoming an attack. I would encourage you, anytime you're talking to somebody, that's where I think Jesus says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. You want to be treated with respect, but you also want to treat that other person with respect and not ignore what it looks like to just say, hey, can we just put it all on the table, examine it together, and then like show me what you see and I'll show you what I see. That's what I would do with those issues. And there are a lot of issues like evolution and creation that have objective truth in the scriptures. God absolutely created the world. But do we want to talk about in detail how he did? We can, but some of what we're saying is based on faith and some of it's based on scripture. So it's all good. Trish, another group.
Should I tell the truth to a certain extent?
Ooh. So here's what's interesting about this question. You are asking for a truthful response. You're asking for a completely truthful response to a question about partial truth. Do you see this? I'm not criticizing the question. I'm saying, notice, just whoever wrote this, you absolutely value the truth in its complete sense. So whoever asked this question, you already know the answer to the question. Absolutely. But when you share it is really important. Ask me what I want you guys to ask me this question at the same time. Ask me what the most important thing to know in confrontation is. Timing. Timing. Thank you for those of you who caught that. Timing is super important because it has to happen, but when it has to happen is a matter between you and the Holy Spirit, a matter of you and God praying about it. So, absolutely, I think we need to expect to give the same kind of truth that we hope to hear, even if it hurts. Let me explain something to you guys without going too much down this rabbit hole if we don't need to. Scripture should hurt. When you read the Bible, it should poke at you a little bit. Otherwise, you're just clocking in and clocking out when you read it. Like if you value exercise, physical exercise, and you go to the gym and you go on the treadmill and you put 1 mile an hour as your exercise routine, okay, maybe that would be challenging. Or maybe you just want to say you went to the gym and you didn't really sweat. Scripture, when we read it, should make us sweat because, one, it's amazing, and we are told true, amazing, beautiful things about ourselves that we actually have to try to believe and go, if that's true, I have so much more to go, and it would be amazing. But then sometimes we do need to be corrected, and we should let it say what it needs to say. All right, Trish, you're in the back. Okay.
Sorry, you guys. There's two good questions.
Okay, so share them both.
Okay, so the first one is kind of similar to like how do you explain sin, I guess, to your friends. So it says, how do I explain to my homosexual supporting friend that the Bible says that it is wrong? They are still building their relationship with Christ, and I don't want to take that away.
Mm-hmm. And was there a second question?
And then the second one was, how do I confront the people in my life about the way I feel?
That's good. I'm going to guess there's a lot of questions along these lines because it's super hard. Well, let's put them both together. So, whatever it is, this was specifically said to be a friend who has identified gay, or gay is a big umbrella. There's a lot of variations of it. Gay, for those of you who are trying to figure out what that definition means, simply put, is I either have same-sex attractions, or for some reason that I haven't yet figured out, I'm not attracted to the opposite sex, or I don't feel comfortable in my skin biologically and I feel like I'm maybe the other gender. And I'm just giving you like 3 general categories, okay? Because there are extensions off of each of those. Those are questions of identity. Those are questions of how do I understand all this stuff that's going on inside of me right now and make sense out of it. I'm going to ask a different question that I think I know the answer for. How many of you have a certain style that you enjoy wearing clothes-wise? Okay? How many of you would say you didn't always wear it that way, though? You've tried other looks, other hairstyles, other glasses, other facial hair, those of you who have facial hair. Others, shoes, right? I used to wear, without thinking about it, I used to wear white socks. I don't wear them anymore because Adam told me I was wrong. You know, Adam and I are good friends. We've joked about this. I'm not surprising him with this thought. I'm just saying it publicly. But I value that because I didn't realize apparently I was committing a major fashion offense by occasionally wearing white socks with my clothing. So I went through and I reviewed it and I thought, boy, when was the last time I actually chose what kind of socks I should wear? And so what I came up with was I enjoy wearing gray socks. I do have some other colored socks that I wear, but and I've got like the no cuts when I'm wearing shorts because apparently that's a sin if you have socks going up your legs. Like these are things we figure out, right? Because people tell us, "What are you doing?" I remember once I was wearing like sweatpants, and a friend of mine came over to me and he physically pulled my sweatpants up. He goes, "You can't have them all the way down." Like, yes, you can. He goes, "You just can't do that. You got to have it up. That's the better way to do it." I'm like, well, thank you for giving me a makeover about sweatpants. So here's what I'm getting at with this. Whatever you're at with this, we try on all kinds of identities all throughout our lives. It's actually healthy. It's a very healthy thing to do. It's a very healthy thing to say, is how I understand myself today my truest self? Where it gets weird and wonky is when can we put that slide up, or maybe it is already up? It gets up is when our filter kicks in and who we understand God to be and who we understand ourselves to be and what the world is telling us gives us our answer. Instead of saying, wait a second, who is God actually and who am I actually and what in the world am I being handed that I should or shouldn't keep and let go of? So, a friend who is struggling with sexual identity is in some ways very different, but yet also the same as a friend who's trying to struggle within their family identity. My parents are divorced. Who do I pick, mom or dad? Somebody who's trying to struggle with their consistent identity. I go to school and I'm this person, but when I'm at home, I'm this person. And when I'm in our church services, I'm this person. And when I'm at work, I'm at this person. These are all questions of identity. And what we just learned by clothing is questions of identity can quickly change one way or another. You might be right now absolutely clear on something about who you are that is going to morph, maybe just further than what you know, or maybe in a very opposite direction. Here's the key question, coming back to the exact question you asked me. How do I help a new Christian in this area of sexual identity? It's really simple. What is true of a new Christian is the same thing that's true of a longtime Christian. We need to, as Jesus said, deny ourselves, take up our cross, and follow Jesus, which means we should constantly be asking, who is God calling me to be despite what I want to do today, despite how I feel about myself? Who is God calling me to be? And that, by the way, to personalize this, is why I was able to spend time with my dad before he passed away. Because 18-year-old Tony wanted to hit his dad in the face. I'll tell you that story sometime. But I didn't do it because 16-year-old Tony had received Jesus as a Savior, and it couldn't let 18-year-old Tony swing his fist, which is why 22-year-old Tony started writing his dad letters that his dad would scribble on and write back and make fun of and send back. That 24-year-old Tony had to find a mentor for so that I can continue to work on this issue of forgiveness and grace and pursuit and not let my stuff with my dad define my identity. Whatever you are struggling with right now that you think is the biggest part of who you are, Lexi, I'm just going to pick on you for a second because you're in front of me. What if Lexi is struggling with a question of her identity? Whatever that thing is, I'm going to call it the kumquat. I don't know why, because I don't want to label her. If Lexi's saying I'm a kumquat, okay, there are far more truer things. There are far more truer Lexi things about Lexi than kumquat things about Lexi. And what we want to hear from God is what are the God things that he wants to tell Lexi about who she is so that she can now address this kumquat question, this weird identity question out of that relationship. I hope I remotely tried to answer that question for you, but that's what I would just say is start with Jesus, end with Jesus, and with your friend along the way, say, hey, by the way, don't leave that issue out of Jesus' transformational hands because God is in the transformation business. Let him do it. Okay, let's keep going. Another question. In the back, Trish?
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, okay, it's working.
Good.
Our question was, why is life so hard?
What kind of a question is that? Objective or subjective? Is it? It's probably both, isn't it? You'll have a hard experience with that. You also have an objective reality. Genesis 3, when God was telling Adam and Eve that because of the choices they made, remember we said this earlier, truth has consequences. Actually, I'll just say it earlier. We went through this whole thing. Because truth has consequences, and the truth is we broke God's law, we rebelled against him, and it changed us. And only God, if we let him, will change us back. Truth has design, truth has freedom, and it has accountability. And we are rebellious people. I know this because no matter how many times I've encouraged you guys tonight, hey, can we all listen to each other instead of whisper to each other? What keeps happening? We keep whispering until I say it, and then for about 5 seconds you stop until I start talking, and you go, okay, he's talking, I can start whispering again. Because we are rebellious, we push back by nature. We're getting ready to go on the life trip, right? This amazing spiritual experience, and yet even though we all go into this knowing like this can be this great thing, we're still going to have this mentality of the leaders versus the students. It happens on camps. Well, I know the leaders said this. Summer camp. I know the leaders said this, but I'm going to do this anyway. We weren't supposed to bring this, but I'm going to bring it anyway. It is in our nature to push back because that nature of sin, we continually, every day have to let God have at. And sometimes we just don't want him to do that. We want to do what we want to do. But when we let him, things get way better. Things get way better in us and through us. Let's keep it going. Let's try to get around the room to every group if we can. Yep.
What do you do when everyone labels you by something you can't change?
What do you do when somebody labels you by something you can't change? So let's just say this is maybe a physical question, like I can't change the fact that I have dimples. I can't change the fact that I have big feet. I have a really big toe, by the way. I have 2 really big toes. Does anybody else have a big toe? Like it's not a big toe, it's a big toe. You can say it. We're in the club together. All right. When that happens, it just hurts because you can't change it. You just can't change it. And people to fit in will pick on you so that if we band up together to pick on you, then we don't have to talk about our stuff. And I think what Jack said earlier is pretty brilliant. A lot of people keep going back to get their bodies corrected for a lot of reasons without realizing why they're even doing it to begin with. Listen, there's a lot of things in life you can't change. How you look, how you do this, how you walk. There's a lot of things you can't change. There's way more that you can. And I would encourage you, work on the things that you can change. And the things you can't, that's just you. Doesn't mean that it's off limits from God. It just means that that is a part of God's unique design for you. You still have to choose to give that over to God and maybe let him have at it if it truly is something you can't change. There is all the stuff inside of us can be changed. Physical stuff is hard to change, which is why it gets weird when we talk about sexual identity because some people would argue it's nothing but biology. Others would argue it's nothing but choice. And we don't have enough time to fully address that question tonight. But I will tell you, if you want to have that conversation, we can. Keep it going. There's another one.
How do I discover my faith?
That's the first question. I think that's honestly the first question, just to say, what would be my next step? Never stop asking that question. Never stop asking that question. There's way more to God than we give him credit for. So how do you do it? There's some basics. Talk to somebody around you that you respect and ask them how they do it. and then ask somebody different, and then ask somebody different, and then ask somebody different, and then try one of those ideas out. And somebody will give you a really good idea. That would be my quick answer to a really good question. Yes, in the back.
Why do we live? God wouldn't have to worry if we didn't exist.
Yeah. What kind of question is that? What do you think, subjective or objective? Here's a better question. What filter did you just put on that question? Okay? No, this is the filter. What filter, what about you? What about what you believe about Jesus? What about culture has handed you? Gave you that. If you believe in evolution, then there is no moral truth. We are just here by the Big Bang, and life will end, and that's the end of it. Our bodies will decompose, and we will enter the ground, and there's really no purpose for life. And you can go out and steal and take whatever you want because it's survival of the fittest. This is Charles Darwin's philosophy. We exist because of survival of the fittest, which means you just have to be stronger and a bigger bully than the people around you. That's ultimately what evolution teaches. The bigger bullies win in the food chain, in life. If that's what you believe from the world, that's how you will live. God, on the other hand, says we are created to understand who he is and understand who we are and live in community and show people life and give each other grace and remind each other of truth. And when we do that, life continues. There's a reason why the Christians thrived in the first century. They were the only people taking care of the poor. Everybody else abandoned them. And the poor said, wow, like there's something to you people. We want to get in on this. And they did. And they had the actual truth of God and the transformation of God. And it was amazing. So I would be a quick answer to a very deep question. Keep it going. Let's try to get around the room if we can.
How do you explain dinos?
How do we explain dinos?
Like dinosaurs.
Yeah. Simply put, there are fossils that we don't completely understand. That's how I explain it. If you want to get into the biblical context, the Bible does reference in the book of Job behemoths and creatures, leviathans that existed in water and on land. Because of the flood, the world itself was slammed with water from the top, from the bottom, and that absolutely changed the climate. And so there's a lot of ways we can scientifically explain dinosaurs, but the simple answer is there are fossils that we don't completely understand, but through Scripture we understand that God created everything, and everything either at one time or still does has a purpose to it, including dinos. Yep.
Is once